I was having a conversation with a head of sales, and we were talking about his sales team, which is fairly extensive. And at one point I said, so tell me, what percent of your team would you say does a good job with discovery? And he thinks for a moment, he says, probably about 20%. I scratched my chin and I thought for a moment, I said, tell me, what percent of your team thinks they do a good job with discovery, but you know they really don't? And he says, hang on a moment. And I hear this clunk, clunk, clunk. And then he says, let me close my door. And I hear the sound of the door closing, ka-chunk. And he comes back and he says, about 80%. And so what we're seeing here is a beautiful example of the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people believe they are well skilled in a practice. And in fact, they're literally just scratching the surface. So to answer your question, what does good discovery or great discovery look like? It's a lot more than uncovering pain. That's the thrust of most sales methodologies. That's the thrust of most training. Let's uncover pain. Let's explore it. And then we're already thinking about a solution. I've had the pleasure and pain of listening to literally hundreds, perhaps even thousands of discovery conversations recordings. And I can give you the quick summary of the typical 30-minute discovery call, which consists of the first few minutes are amusing efforts to establish rapport, often by over Zoom today, looking at objects by the vendor, looking at objects in the prospect's background and making comments about, oh, you like the Chicago Bears, et cetera, et cetera. So now rapport has been established, followed by, so tell me what's keeping you up at night, or similar kinds of questions, and exposure of a pain, a little bit of discussion around that. And then about the 15-minute mark into the call, the vendor turns to, well, let me give you an overview about us and our offerings. And the vendor goes into a corporate overview presentation, followed very closely often by a product overview. And then it's a wrap up with next steps. So total time elapsed actually doing discovery is often somewhere on the order of 10 to 15 minutes at the max. And that is insufficient.